Hi, how you doing?
And welcome back to the Pastor's Chat. This is your second one, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't been counting, but this is
Right.
they are really a joy to chat and be together. And we also hope that you guys are continuing to enjoy getting to know your pastors. And as we try to keep you up to date as things that are going on, but additionally as we talk about things that are happening in our lives. Well, we have Pastor Bogert. Pastor Bogert with us here, and my question as we just started here to warm us up was, what do you think the greatest invention is?
Well, Tim, that reminds me of a story. There are these three guys, Carl, Dennis, and Alan, and they're sitting around Dunkin' Donuts one day, and Carl says, what do you think the greatest thing is that was ever invented? Dennis thinks for a minute, and he says, I'd have to say the wheel. He said, if we didn't have the wheel, we wouldn't be able to roll things. We'd have to carry them all. And he says, what about you, Alan? Alan says, well, I'd have to say fire. He says, because if we didn't have fire, we wouldn't be able to cook. And so, all our food would be cold. It would be not really good. And fire probably is the thing that does it for me. So they look at Carl and they say, well, what do you think, Carl? Carl says, well, I'd have to go with a thermos bottle. And they look at Carl and they say, what, the thermos bottle? He says, yeah, think of it. You pour something in it that's cold, and you come back a little while later, and it's still cold. You pour something in it that's hot, and you come back a little while later, and it's still hot. And they said, so what? He says, man, how does it know? Sorry.
So is it the thermos for you?
Greatest thing ever invented is the radio.
The radio.
Yeah, that's just off the top of my head. But yeah, printing press, obviously, printing press.
Yeah.
I would go with the printing press simply because so much has been contributed to our lives because of that, which really began the whole media thing. If we didn't have the printing press, we wouldn't have most of the stuff that we have today available to us.
And then I was trying to think about this, and again, there's so many options. I was thinking about the battery.
Yeah.
So I mean, we keep advancing the battery so much, and it plays a huge role in what our country's trying to do in the sense of go green or whatever you want to call it. But so the battery. But
okay, well that's a good one.
Yeah, there's so many good ones. So let us know in the comments what do you think the greatest invention was. All right, so
maybe somebody will say Pastor's Chat.
That would warm my heart.
Yes.
So you are in a new role,
mm-hmm.
And it's been great being here in the building with you and seeing how you are just so thankful as the Lord has put you in this position. But I think everyone would like to know is how are you doing in your new role?
I'm loving it. I have been spending most of my time doing some organizing, getting a system together whereby I can interact with our retired folks, our seniors, some of them on a monthly basis, others less frequently depending upon their need. Tom Shorb was incredibly helpful in helping me set that up, and so we're working on that. And I've started to make calls, had some great conversations with folks already. Anticipate making some phone calls today, and initially that's how we'll start. When people feel a little bit more safe, we'll make some in-person visits, but right now I think people are a little bit more secure having a phone call, at least to introduce. I'm going to be doing some digital content for our website at some point in the very near future, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, at a later point, but we're working on developing some teaching aids and just things that'll be of interest to the congregation in their own spiritual growth. And so I'm excited as we begin to look at that and develop what that's going to look like.
Yeah. And going along with your new role, I had a question for all myself, but our whole church. I just said, how can we as a multi-generational body of believers love and encourage each other?
That's a great question. When I was working in my previous job, I worked as a driver for a retirement community, and I took people to medical appointments. During this COVID period, I encountered many, many people who, even though they were in a community, and some of them more of a nursing home or semi-nursing home thing, but others who were independent living and in their own apartments and everything, they were confined. And I think that a lot of our older folks feel that sense of being just stuck at home.
Yeah.
And they're not sure whether it's safe to go out, whether it's safe to have people in and all of that. And I think one of the things that can really help is if younger people will make a phone call to some of the older folks that they may know in the congregation. I think that shows love. I think it shows honoring that the Bible talks about. And those kinds of things are greatly appreciated. It really are. The other thing that I'm thinking of in the opposite way is that a lot of times people get to the point in life where they feel that they've given what they need to give in terms of volunteering. They're past that point. People have said to me, I've done my time, And I think as we begin to open up again and we begin to have our kids' classes and our nursery is available again, that it would be great to see some of our more mature, older people take a turn in some of those places so that they get to know the younger families. Mm-hmm. Laura and I are going to be down by the Calvary Kids area so that we can begin to get to know some of the younger families and their kids. And I think it would be great for some of our more seasoned church members to be able to plug into some of our kids' ministries. You can rock a baby during the worship service time. You don't have to have great skill for that. And you may say, well, I did my time. I worked in nursery for X number of years. But there's still something for you to do. And I think that only helps you feel useful, but it also makes the younger people get to know you and see that you're contributing and you're setting a model for them.
Right. And you and I are recently talking about, John Piper, what he had said a while ago about, what is your goal as you get older?
Yeah.
I don't know how well you recall that.
I do.
But he said, where do you want to be? Are you hoping for that, go south and you're just collecting seashells? Or do you want to be that person that's out there relentlessly serving the Lord and living for Him? And there are so many ways that we can do that. And the conclusion was that, we're called. That calling never ends.
Yeah.
It doesn't end. Yeah, you may go to, you might have a time where you settle down into a vacation home, but in that opportunity, at every moment in our life, though, how are we serving the Lord in that time frame of our life?
Yeah, I think that's really important because in our American culture, we're used to this point of retirement, which was 65, now has for many people of necessity moved into an older time or age bracket. But we have a lot of discretionary time, and it can be used profitably for the Lord's sake. And so I would encourage you, if you're listening today and you're still able to get out and you can rock a baby or help with a kid's class once a month or once every 2 months, that you do something like that. Or just go up to a younger couple if you don't know them and introduce yourself. And sometimes it's great for those young couples and the kids to have kind of an in-church mom and dad and grandmom and grandpop.
Absolutely. I had them when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And they were a major blessing into my life.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that when I was serving in the youth ministry position here, I would get phone calls on a regular basis from those that were shut in or some of our senior saints letting me know that they were praying for me, or many times asking specifically what type of prayer requests they could pray for me and the youth students. So I know that's happening, but we want to encourage that to know that wherever you are in your life, there are ways that we can serve the Lord. We're all called, therefore go to all the nations, making disciples.
That's right.
It's not, no matter where we're at in our life.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Just a few things. We've been reiterating that there's exciting news coming up about as we are continuing just to regather together. This Sunday actually begins our 2 services. Mm-hmm. So we're going back to our original times of 9 a.m. and 10:45. The 9 a.m. service will remain the way it is. It will be the way the first service has been. Masks on as you enter the building, masks on the whole time until we go out and there's that fellowship time outside.
Right.
So that'll remain that way. And if whoever's comfortable to go to that, we're thankful, and we encourage you to continue to stay at that service. Then our second service at 10:45, we're going to allow the fact that as we need to enter the building, we'll enter with masks, but as we're seated in the sanctuary, you'll be able to remove your mask for the time of the preaching and other things. But when we go back to the singing, we're still at this point that we find that the safest thing to do at this point is to have the mask back on for the singing. Yeah. And then the same thing as we get outside, there will be a fellowship time again where your mask can be removed to talk. So, and one thing I want to say that's really important is I want to encourage us all to recognize that, we all have different emotions going on when it comes to the mask wearing or not mask wearing. And it's really important as a church that whatever service that we go, that we still really intentionally try to be reaching out and having conversations with those that we're not seeing in the first and those that we're not seeing in the second, and just learning to talk and listen and encourage. And I've said that on this chat before, but I want to encourage it that as we do this, let's not see it as, I go to this service, that person goes to that service, but we'll just see it as, wanting to continue to connect between the two different groups of people.
Yeah.
So that was just an encouragement. And then additionally, September 27th, we are starting our Calvary Kids, but it's important to know that we're not able to start it to its full extent. We're going to use the rooms behind the sanctuary. The nursery is going to be on the furthest room where next to the creek, and that's going to be a nursery where parents can take their child. If their child's in the service having trouble, if you have a 0, I think, to 2 years old,
right. Yeah.
You'll be able to take your child to that room. We're also going to have the service streaming on the TV in there or some way so that you guys can see the service and still feel like you're listening and still engaging, but that's going to be a unstaffed nursery. It's important to know. But then additionally, we're praying and we are working hard, and we should at that point have Calvary Kids going from K through 5. K through.
No, it's
I got that
3
wrong.
to 5, I think.
3 to 5. Sorry,
right.
3 to 5. I make sure. Thank you. 3 to 5 years old at this point, as we just have limited space, especially with all the transitions, and that we are working to getting that back to all the way K through 5. And last thing, I've said this again, feel free, please come back. If you have your children at home, if you are able and are willing, join us. It's okay to have kids that are rambunctious in a service. We will deal with that. We love seeing children's faces, and we know, and don't feel like you're disrupting anything if you have to get up and walk out. We're in a weird time frame, and additionally, we love children. So as you're ready, come back and join us. And now, really exciting news is that this is the beginning of a new sermon series. And there are some Bible stories that are more bizarre and uncommon than what we've seen in 2020. We're going to meet Daniel to explore these uncommon experiences, get a glimpse of the uncommon character of God, and get some insight into living a countercultural life. So as we're dealing with everything, this uncommon life that has just been so confusing, so hard and difficult, we'll see that the Bible has things that were time frames where Christians were living in uncommon times. So we're going to the book of Daniel. So get ready for this sermon, uncommon. We start this week Daniel 1 with us, and we'll start an uncommon sermon series. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be with you again.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.